All right, I'm going to pick up where I left off. I had a little glitch there. I'm looking at the stomach, all right, and the stomach has 3 layers of muscles. So we have muscles that go in a horizontal direction, we have muscles that go in a vertical direction, and we have muscles that move in a diagonal direction. So what that means is when your stomach is contracting, you have optimal contraction going on in every single direction. And that's what I wanted to show you here. So we've got muscles here. This one is representing, I would say that is vertical, okay? These are definitely horizontal, so these are going to be vertical. All right, here we've got horizontal fibers, and these guys are on our diagonal. And so what this is showing you is that if you were to cut through the layers of the stomach, you would see there's 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, this one being underneath, okay? This one on the very top, this one covers this one, which covers that one, okay? And that's what I wanted to show you with that diagram so that you're well aware. All right, so chyme is the term for food when it is in the stomach, so it's not really recognizable anymore. And how would you know that? You would know it from vomiting. You know that things are not quite the same as when they went in. They don't look the same. So chyme is moved out of the stomach by peristalsis into the small intestine. All right, so food is going to move from the stomach to the small intestine. Water and glucose may be directly absorbed through the stomach lining, so we get a little bit of chemical digestion going on there and absorption. So I'm going to actually use green for absorption. Okay, so if you want to write a little legend, we can absorb some water and glucose through our stomach lining. Okay, so far I've got this. This color is being used for physical digestion or mechanical. And I've got orange for chemical digestion. All right, this is just neutral information. So in other words, info, okay? I'll call it neutral information because it's neither physical nor chemical. And then I'm going to highlight every time we absorb something. So in other words, now we're going to get it absorbed into the blood, okay? That's going to be in green because that's another function of the digestive system, okay? So these are functions of the digestive system: physical digestion, chemical digestion, and absorbing those nutrients, absorbing the products of physical and chemical digestion. All right, the broken down nutrients. So most food is sent into the small intestine for further digestion, and it really is. Most of the food is going to go into the small intestine. And then I wanted to just show you here a picture of the rugae. So if you were to look at the inside of your stomach, if you would look at the inside of this now, okay, that's what I'm showing you here. You have these really rough folds, okay? And these rough folds are called rugae. And why am I showing you that? So that when you know that when the stomach is going to be contracting into a ball, this is helping you to physically digest your food as well, okay? So what I'm going to do is highlight that in yellow because it helps you with physical digestion. So the rugae are really, really rough inside your stomach and kind of like your hard palate. They serve the purpose of helping to grind food up, okay? Because it's a rough surface. It's not a perfectly smooth surface. So when your chyme meets with this, it starts to physically get smaller. And then from there, we have food going into the small intestine, okay? So now in the small intestine is where we're really going to find our enzymes, all right? And what I didn't mention to you, and I do want to mention to you right now, all food as it goes through the digestive system, the parts that it actually goes through are referred to as the alimentary, okay, canal. So that's wherever food passes. So food passes through these organs. Food passes through here, okay? So alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is where food passes. All right. So all the organs we've gone through so far, I've told you food is passing through them. The small intestine is no exception. Food definitely passes through it. So final stages of digestion occur in the small intestine. It is 7 to 8 meters long. That is taller than you. Okay. Way, way bigger than you. So if you were to, you're missing out on the rat dissection, unfortunately. There's nothing we can do. But if we take the intestine, you have to think the rat usually is about maybe at most the length of this page, okay? And then we take out the small intestine, and usually I have the students take it apart. You can't see where my fingers are going. And usually the small intestine is longer than the length of this, okay? It's quite a bit longer when you start to untangle it. So you need to think a little rat with an intestine like this, if you want to do the intestine, it's that long, so you can only imagine how long yours is, okay? So 7 to 8 meters long usually, all right? The first section of that small intestine is called the duodenum, all right? And so what's important about the duodenum is you get secretions from the liver and the pancreas going into that, all right? And so at this point, we need to think about chemical digestion. So we get secretions from the liver and we get secretions from the pancreas going into the small intestine and the duodenum. Peptidase, P for protein, okay, P for peptidase, breaks down proteins, all right? And then we get maltase, breaking down maltose sugar, sucrase, breaking down sucrose sugar, lactase, breaking down lactose sugar. They break those down. And then we get lipase. So lipase breaks down your fats, okay, into glycerol and fatty acids. And that's why we covered nutrients first, so that you'd be aware of your building blocks. Now, the other extremely important thing that happens in the small intestine after all chemical digestion is complete is that food gets pushed throughout the small intestine and it gets absorbed, okay? So there's no point in going through all of this chewing, breaking things up physically and chemically if we're not going to be able to get the products of digestion. And so really one of the most important things, I mean, all of them are important, but if you can't absorb it, everything else is pointless. So in the small intestine, we've got these little projections called villi, okay? And so your villi, if you can imagine your small intestine, the small intestine surface, these guys are like little fingers sticking up into the center of your small intestine, okay? So if this was the small intestine, you would have villi on this side as well, okay? So you'd have this type of thing going on. And this just looks like really rough and not making any sense. Usually I just draw the bottom. But this would be the small intestine, okay? So this is the entire intestine. We'll just not draw the villi in the other section. These little bumps here are called villi. And the villi, sorry, just give me a moment here, have capillaries in them. Now, we haven't done the circulatory system yet, so you're not exactly 100% sure what a capillary is, but it is the smallest of our blood vessels. So what purpose do those capillaries have? They're there to absorb the products of digestion. Okay, so don't worry about the top one. I just want you to know that this is the small intestine, and it has these finger-like projections. So this is a villus. A whole bunch of them are villi. And inside the villus, you have capillaries. All right, so that's a capillary. What's going to happen is, let's say this is a nutrient. Nutrients are in high concentration here. Okay, they're in low concentration in the bloodstream, so we have diffusion. Okay, and so we're going to end up putting those nutrients in our bloodstream as a result, all right? And this is a very good thing because that's how the products of digestion are going to get distributed to your entire body, all right? I do have to tell you, I know it's a crazy year, but I don't want you to leave without knowing. You also have another blood vessel in here, okay? There's one more in there, in that villus, and that one is called, I'm just going to label it down here, a lacteal. All right, so just listen to this for a second. You can write it down as well. The capillary absorbs vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, okay, so the building blocks of carbohydrates, so sugars, and amino acids. The lacteal absorbs your products of your fats. So this is going to absorb the fats that have been digested. So this goes into the circulatory system immediately. Fats go into the lacteal and they empty into the chest cavity where they finally meet up with the veins, okay? And the veins, they meet up with the veins in the chest cavity, and that's when you finally get your fats into your circulatory system, all right? So something that you should know in grade 11. All right, where are we here? Villi increase the surface area of the small intestine, which cause absorption. So in other words, instead of the small intestine being smooth and flat like this, you've got your villi, okay? And so you can have absorption here, 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 etc. So you get more of a surface to absorb instead of just a flat surface, okay? I did put this diagram in here on purpose. I wanted you to see that when we start to talk about these accessory organs, there's the gallbladder, okay, it empties into, and so does the pancreas, empties into the duodenum. So now you get an idea of where the duodenum is, okay? So here's our duodenum, all in here, beginning of the small intestine. This section here is called the jejunum, okay? So that part of the small intestine is where you have your jejunum, okay? And then the end of the small intestine in this area, just before the small intestine turns into the large intestine, is called the ileum. So you do need to know those three sections of your small intestine, and that's why I brought this on here, okay? So the ileum is really a place where you get lots and lots of absorption, because you want that to happen, okay? So we're getting absorption going on there. And then in the duodenum, we are getting chemical digestion. And in the jejunum, we're getting chemical digestion. And there will be some absorption happening there as well, okay? And then it winds itself into the large intestine, okay? And right here, we've got the junction between the two. And so that's where you have your small intestine turning into your large intestine, okay? And I think that was very important for you to actually see that, all right? The large intestine, lastly, you're not going to have any digestion occurring there. You need to know, this word here just got copied from this diagram over and over. That's something that came with the diagram, so don't worry about that. We can cross anterior off. I couldn't get it off the diagram. The large intestine is an area where you don't get absorption or digestion. So at this point, if you allow things to go into your large intestine, those things have to be waste, with the exception of when you have diarrhea. When you have diarrhea, when you've got an upset in this area, that means that the good stuff gets into the large intestine too soon, okay? But the small intestine is so large and has such a great surface area, so that doesn't happen on a typical day. So the large intestine is also known as the colon, okay? And once we get into there, into the colon, we have waste products, all right? Feces is the name we give to the waste products. Here we're going to have water removed, so this is a little bit of absorption, okay? So if you drink a lot of water, you will absorb some water. If you don't drink a lot of water and you're dehydrated, then you're not going to have a lot of water or you're going to absorb water even more, just the opposite. You're going to absorb as much water as you can, because you don't want to lose it in your feces, and that's going to make feces very, very dry, okay? So feces moves into the rectum where it is stored and eliminated. There's not a lot on this here, but I do want you to know that you have various species of bacteria, one of them being E. coli, living in your intestine, your large intestine. These guys have their own waste product. So they begin to decompose our waste product, and they make their own waste product, which is vitamin K. Vitamin K is not potassium. We would just call that K if it was potassium. This is a different vitamin that we have a hard time getting. And so their waste product, their feces basically, is vitamin K. And so we can actually absorb some vitamin K in our large intestine. So we're going to get some of that going on. Now, if you have yogurt or you take probiotics, you're giving yourself a whole different bunch of cultures of bacteria. I'm just using E. coli as an example. If you look at any kind of yogurt, they might even tell you on there what different cultures you're getting, okay? So if too much water is absorbed from the feces because you're dehydrated, you have constipation. If too little is absorbed because you've got a gastrointestinal infection and your food is passing through too quickly, then that's diarrhea, all right? And that means you're not absorbing enough water, and then you can get very dehydrated as a result. Okay, we are done with the alimentary canal. We're now on to accessory organs at the very last step here. Accessory organs are organs through which food does not pass, but they are completely essential for digestion, okay? So they're like accessories, but you have to have them, all right? So accessory organ number 1, accessory organ number 2, accessory organ number 3, and many people consider salivary glands the 4th accessory organ, okay? So you've got your liver. All right, and I think on the next page I have a much better diagram. I do, so I'm going to wait till I get to that and show you the connection between them. So the pancreas is made up of digestive glands, and those digestive glands serve the purpose of making digestive enzymes. So the pancreas is awesome. It makes enzymes for us, okay? So it makes all these enzymes, okay? Very, very important. So keep in mind your stomach and your small intestine are not making those enzymes. It's your pancreas that is. You've got a list of those enzymes. And in addition to that, your pancreas makes sodium bicarbonate, okay? And the reason for that is because food is coming from the stomach, okay? So if we look here, we're not seeing the stomach on this diagram. If we look here, food chyme, okay, otherwise known as chyme, is coming from the stomach. We know this has a pH of 2, all right? This is protected with mucus because you're not getting much absorption going on there. But as soon as you get into the small intestine, I told you there are villi, and if the villi got all congested with mucus, you wouldn't have any absorption going on, okay? So mucus will stop absorption from going on, and we want absorption. So what we do here is we don't make any mucus, and we've just got the villi sticking up. So our defense mechanism against burning a hole in our intestine, in our large and our small intestine, is to have the pancreas, okay, secrete a basic substance in there. So basically like a baking soda-like substance. So notice you've got that duct coming from the pancreas. The pancreas is inserting a foamy baking soda-like substance to neutralize the stomach acid because we no longer have mucus in this area. So bring that pH back up to around a 7 at that point. Okay, it's extremely important that that occurs. So that's the function of the sodium bicarbonate. It neutralizes the acid in the chyme so it will not burn a hole in the duodenum or the rest of the small intestine. Then we have the liver. Okay, the liver is the place that has so many important functions, all right, but it makes bile, all right, and bile is going to be chemically or physically digesting fats. So it actually breaks up, like, let's say you had a tablespoon of butter, okay? What it would do is make the butter smaller to get into tiny droplets so that you could attack it quicker with your enzymes, okay? So the liver makes bile. The bile works on fats, okay? The bile also contains sodium bicarbonate, which helps to neutralize stomach acid. Bile helps in the absorption. So the fact that we make bile, it helps us to absorb these vitamins, okay? And it's released directly into the duodenum or sent into the gallbladder for storage. So our last accessory organ is the gallbladder. It stores bile and releases it from the common bile duct. So the last thing I'm going to go over with you is this diagram. I know the printing is not very clear, but I just want you to see, here's your liver, okay? So the liver is going to make bile, all right? And they're showing bile in green here. So bile is going to go into here, all right, which is one of the bile ducts. If you've got lots and lots of bile and you're not digesting a whole heck of a lot of fat, then the bile goes into the gallbladder, okay? When you need that extra bile, it goes to the common bile duct, okay? And here's your common bile duct, and that goes into your duodenum, okay? So bile will enter there, all right? And then you can see the pancreas, and the pancreas also has a tube, and the pancreas will let its enzymes go into that, okay? So the distal bile ducts, all right? So I just wanted you to see that, how close these accessory organs are, 1, 2, and 3, to the duodenum. They are not part of the alimentary canal, but they're essential for digestion that occurs there.